La-di-da-di-do-di, blah, blah. Mafia Definitive Edition is a remake of the 2002 Mafia game of the same name that first released on PC and later to consoles. You play as taxi driver turned mobster Tommy Angelo in the Chicago-inspired fictional town of Lost Haven during the Dirty 30s, during the time of Prohibition and after, which the story touches on this subject a bit through the various rackets that they have. As you can see, looks quite a bit better from the original game, not only in how it looks, but in how they filled up the world. I was interested in this one because of its more serious tone compared to GTA. It is on GameFly. Third-person shooting mechanics and a weapon system that was common during this time, post-Halo, where you had two weapons, one being a secondary like a pistol, and then the primary being like a shotgun or a Tommy gun. You can do two pistols, but you want to have the heavier one, of course. Also, a grenade or Molotov cocktail and a melee weapon. You don't need one. You can also engage in melee combat, but you're more dangerous if you have one. The melee combat part is seamless, going from third-person shooting to melee. There's just a button prompt if you are dodging attack. Otherwise, you can mash whatever the melee button is. And this is good. There aren't any like quick time events, anything like that, segments throughout the game. And it's good for some bad reasons, because when you are very close, the clunkiness of the movement becomes more of a problem, where it's just easier to engage in melee combat. And this is the worst part about the game, is the moving around. I ramped up the sensitivity to the max, but you'll be moving one way or another, and he'll go a little bit past where you want him to go. And it's not until you engage in the third-person shooting, then it's steady again. But the transitions from going to that, to melee, to being at the place you want to be, it's pretty bad. I put it all the way to the maximum just because it took a long time for me to aim where I'm looking to where I want to be aiming the gun, or even just looking around. But still there would be that lag of, okay, I'm looking here, and I'm looking at the other spot. A couple running segments. The only glitch I noticed was this part of this coming out of this woman where it makes this wall off to the side. But a very well done game in terms of bugs and glitches, because I had nothing for the rest of the game, and this is like within the first hour of playing Mafia. Driving, on the other hand, is one of the best aspects of Mafia. I'm not sure if it's because it's the old cars that only have 2 to 4 gears, where it's supposed to feel kind of clunky, but the additions that they added with a lot more people, the graphics obviously, and the number of cars make it much more immersive, like you're in this 1930s inspired city. Very basic with the different types of cars. Any car that you drive, you have in your garage, and you can see the attributes. It's very basic though: acceleration, braking, and grip, which is your ability to control it. For each of the missions, you have your home location at Salieri's bar on one part of town, and then you're tasked to drive to wherever the mission is taking place. And I recommend doing this. You can skip this part of the game, but it's a disservice to the better aspects, being the immersion in this 1930s inspired city. You can take away most of the markers, apart from that diamond thing where when you're driving around it kind of tells you where to go. I recommend doing most of it, including driving in manual rather than automatic. Free ride mode is Mafia's open world approach that you don't have these single linear mission objectives that you're supposed to go to. Instead, you start in your home location. You can gear up with whatever weapons and equipment you want. You can pick whatever car that you want, and then you go out looking for different missions or secrets in the map. I did a couple of these, and these revolve around similar to the main story, where you do one thing, like drive a car or you're looking for something. But driving around the map in free ride, it's a bit pointless because you can't go anywhere. I can't get on like the trolley, I can't get on the train, all of the buildings are closed, and the AI isn't that great on top of it. So it's a look but don't touch sort of a thing driving around. And that's the best aspect, is in how it looks, but it's not as engaging. Story, on the other hand, is one of the best parts. It's told through Tommy Angelo. Years later, he's meeting this detective who's trying to bring down this crime family at a restaurant, and he is telling his story on how he joined the Salieri crime family, and then over time all the things that they did and what happened. A lot of people don't like the acting, or I've heard about this in the new one. They like the old actors better, but I think it's very well done. I kind of wondered at first, there were some weird things early on, but just the complexity with the mannerism, the gestures that they do, and the accents in combination with that are specific to the period of time in which this is taking place. It's a packaged thing, and it really immerses you much more. And I did like a little research at the past game, but I think it's a massive improvement from the first one. The story of Tommy Angelo is a bit video gamey. At first, he's held at gunpoint to drive around a couple mobsters in a taxi. They're getting chased. Later on, that other crime family attacks and destroys his taxi, so he decides to join the other one. So a little bit less unbelievable, but the focus on the period and the more serious tone is nice. Biggest improvements are in how the visuals and how they filled everything out impacts the immersion in this believable 1930s game. In combination with even the radio. When you're driving around, you'll hear what's going on in that given year. It covers the 30s completely, from 1930 all the way up to 39. But even just walking around the city, there's more people. They're doing something. You feel much more immersed just looking at past footage. If you would go back to the original Mafia game, it'd be much more blocky. You wouldn't have the lighting. There'd be a couple people, so it's more up to your imagination. Driving ramps this up quite a bit too. The draw distance, you can see Chicago, also New York inspired. I think I saw like a Flatiron building. But there's much more traffic, and again, touches with the lighting, like me exiting this tunnel here. There's this sunlight kind of effect where where when you drive out, then everything opens up again. Really looks great anytime you're driving or walking around. Combat, though, it feels more like the original 2002 game for whatever reason. It's a remake, so they changed quite a bit, supposedly from the ground up, but the clunkiness stands out the most. Once I'm aiming, I'm okay, but then going from not aiming to aiming, like if I'm in cover, not in cover. Also, the throwing the grenade, the Molotov cocktail, or the grenade, they have this arc, which I think is kind of stupid. They could have just taken that out. One thing I encountered that you're probably not going to be having is long load times. If you die or completing a mission, it's up to 30 seconds, but I think that's because I'm playing on my OG Xbox One. I've had this issue with other games too, even AA games where they've had these long load times. I played it on PC, boom, I'm into it right away. The other big negative too, going back to the free ride mode, is you can't go anywhere. I can't go into a train station, into a building, and on a trolley, and the AI isn't that great either. It's not too hard to evade the police and just how people act. They're just kind of there. So, story-focused game, definitely. Mafia is a rent. It's not that expensive. It's $40 kind of for what you get. The thing with it, though, is you're looking at 20 hours max, really. I took my time. I did all the driving to mission locations that you don't have to do, and then that was still just 20 hours. You're looking at 15 if you're not doing those. They tried to expand it a bit with the free ride mode, making it open world, but this ultimately fails because of the issues I mentioned. You're limited to looking, not really going into buildings, talking to people. The AI isn't that great either. The story is great though. The updated visuals and the amount that they added, it definitely, in that sense, makes it a remake. And you're going to have fun if you're looking for like a period type of a game. Like these don't come out anymore. You get like GTA, and then they update that over several years, and then you don't get these type of games anymore. You're going to have fun. So if you're renting it, I would check it out through GameFly. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you disliked it, give it a dislike. Really liked it, consider subscribing. If you are picking up on GameFly, please check out the link below. And I will see you next time.